I read geography at Clare. Leaving Clare, I trained as a landscape architect in Newcastle on Tyne for 2 years. And I fell into landscape architecture by accident, actually fishing out of the waste paper bin the little bits of information about it that I'd been given. But I'd always been interested in how the landscape came to be and in repairing the damage of the past. And my first job in 1974 was in Blackburn, working for a landscape architect in her office. It was quite tight. And after a couple of years, I needed to leave. And I landed a job in Dublin in summer of 77. And I found extraordinary parallels with David going to Ireland and also with Francis. And actually, if I look back, there were two turning points for me, and going to Dublin was the first of them. I mean, there you get a totally opposite view of history to the history with which you grow up, or certainly that I did. And I landed in Dublin for my job interview on the 5th anniversary of Bloody Sunday. So this was interesting, and it took a little adjusting to, I think. But this island is now my home, albeit I live in the north of it. And I'm very fond of it. And I arrived at a time of significant economic development, and therefore of opportunities for work. The second turning point was a call to ordination in the Church of Ireland. I mean, the Church of Ireland are the Irish Anglicans. That was a bit of a culture shock in itself, actually, compared to the tradition in which I'd grown up. And it happened following a period of personal difficulty and depression. So much so that I thought, no, this cannot be genuine, this is an escape. But it has proved right and fulfilling and healthy. I was ordained in 1990 and spent 2.5 years as a curate in Ballymena in County Antrim. Then I spent nearly 18 years as a rector on Belfast Shankill Road.
Wow.
In the depressed heart of Ulster loyalism. And for the last 9, or nearly 9, I've been Dean of Armagh, which is the Metropolitan Cathedral of the Church of Ireland, in an Irish country town of 15,000, 7 miles from the border. And I'm due to retire at the end of this month. I shall just pass 70 and it's time to go. Satisfactions. There are still 1 or 2 jobs that I did in landscape architecture in the south in which I reckon I made a difference. And I look back on that with great fulfillment. I look back with great pleasure on my 18 years in St. Matthew's in Belfast, in the care of a parish, doing the things that I understood I was called and trained and equipped to do, with lovely people. Yes, a difficult district, but some lovely, lovely people, and yeah, some interesting experiences as well. And then finally, the ministry of the cathedral, trying to keep it warm and welcoming, laying on some of the special things that cathedrals do, and also in this context, looking after a lovely late 18th century library. I'm actually sitting in my study in the library at the moment. So for what advice would I give? Well, like Francis, I'm very conscious that people leaving university now may have, the graduate job market may be very difficult. And I think I would want to say, as far as possible, do what interests you. And I would also want to say, allow that God may come calling, whether you recognize him or not. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gregory. You certainly have lived through some interesting times, and I'm sure I would love to know more about the history of living in Ireland through pretty turbulent political events. But would you say that some stability has been reached now? Do you feel more comfortable about?
some stability had been reached a few years ago. It is greatly threatened by current political developments in Britain.
Wow.
And that, interestingly, in my view, picks up a recurrent theme in Irish history. When we thought we'd got our tortured relationships settled, and then something happened on the larger island, in the larger political community, to upset it all again. And I think history has repeated itself.
Shame, shame. Thank you very much.